Well, hello, I'm here with Andrew Thornthwaite from Thornthwaite. How are you, Andrew?
Oh, good, thanks, Justin. How are you?
Good, it's nice to see you. So what I want to do for starters, Andrew, is to dig into your good news, and then after we've covered that, wind back and review the story that got us here and talk about what the future holds. But the good news that I picked up on, and we were in a meeting the other day, and I'll talk later about how that came to be, was that you've increased quite significantly the size of your pipeline, the opportunities under management. Can you give our viewers some idea of the magnitude of that?
Yes, Justin, we now have about 300 opportunities that we're actively managing, and that's with 2 salespeople on the ground. So that's a huge increase. It's hard to say exactly how many we were doing previously because we weren't really tracking it, or the systems that we had, we couldn't really track the numbers. But each salesperson might have been tracking, say, 30 each, so a total of 60. So it's gone up from, say, 60 odd to 300, but certainly they're now better managed, those opportunities.
So that's a significant increase in opportunities under management. But I want to dig into it because when I first heard that number, I wasn't, I was impressed, but not crazy impressed. But then when I heard some of the details, so the first thing that I did was I asked the salespeople how many opportunities historically they were actively engaged with, as opposed to just having on their general radar. And do you remember what their answer was?
I don't exactly, but my feeling is that might be around a dozen actively being followed.
Yeah, that was a number that they both said independently, about a dozen maximum. It wasn't possible for them to actively engage with any more than that. So really, the impression they gave was that they were aware of maybe 30 or so, but they were actively engaged with a dozen. So of course, the comparison's not fair unless they're actively engaged with the 300. And can we make the claim that maybe not the salespeople, but can we make the claim that your firm is actively engaged with 300 opportunities currently?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to dig into. I think what came out of our discussion is not only you actively engaged, but there is concrete evidence that you are more engaged, because if I remember correctly, the volume of activity within each opportunity has also increased.
Yes, it has, because now we're seeing a lot more of the stakeholders, or at least we're targeting more of the stakeholders. There's architects involved, hydraulic consultants, the plumbing merchants, the plumbers themselves. So where part of our workflow is to be getting in contact with these people, these different groups, which we are now doing. But prior to implementing sales process engineering, we simply didn't have the capacity to do that.
Great. So I'll go back and we'll inform the viewer in just a moment what the nature of your business is. But just to expand on the comment you just made, you're in the building industry, which means that there are multiple stakeholders associated with each deal. There's owners, there's specifiers, there's builders, and there's contractors, and so on. So when we talk about you being more actively engaged in each opportunity on average, we're actually talking in concrete terms, because what we're measuring is that the salespeople are actually going out and meeting with more of the stakeholders across each opportunity than they were previously.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and because we've now got the capacity to do that.
So this is starting to sound interesting. We're saying there's maybe 3 times the volume of opportunities under management, but the nature of management has also increased, because not only have we tripled the number of opportunities under management, but we've increased how deeply you're engaging with each of those opportunities.
Definitely, because it's so involved and there's so many different stakeholders, you need a pretty good thorough system to be able to track all those different stakeholders and know when to get in contact with them. And so now with having sales coordinators and a very good workflow, we can better manage that process.
Okay, so the bad news is that there hasn't been an increase in sales yet. And I heard your story from Katrina, I was tempted to postpone recording an interview until after we'd seen that. But when I met with you, the fundamentals are looking so strong. I thought, well, we got to get this on. We got to get this on video. Now, the other interesting news is that we were berating ourselves in the meeting for not having your salespeople operating at full utilization.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fair enough that we should do that, and we'll talk about why they're not and how we're going to resolve that in a minute. But the interesting point to complete this to complete the good news is that your salespeople are operating at what percentage of their full what percentage utilization are they operating at now?
At the moment, it's probably around 60%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in spite of the fact that the salespeople are operating at 60%, we have 3 times the volume of sales opportunities under management, and we're engaging more actively with each opportunity than we were previously, which means we have upside.
Yes,
without any increase in operating expense, there's upside that we can readily exploit, and we'll talk about how in a minute. So
okay,
it's all good news, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Look, the team is working very well together. We're seeing different groups of stakeholders that we didn't see as much before because of the workflow that we've developed, where it's a lot easier for us to target them. For example, with plumbers, we were mainly seeing them on a reactive basis. So when they needed us, that they would get in contact with us. However, what we're doing now is we're proactively targeting them. We're initiating the phone call so that they're aware of our products prior to installation. We can provide pre-sales assistance, and so that's a better service for the plumbers.
Okay, so
as an example.
Right. Before we leave this introductory part of the message, do you have any doubts that sales will follow? Is there any reason?
No, I don't have any doubts. The nature of the building industry and specification sales is that there's a lag between when the products are specified and when the sales go through. Now, that can be up to 2 years in many cases. So it does take some time. But what we're seeing here is a dramatic improvement in processes, a dramatic increase in the number of opportunities that we're actively following. And it's when we say actively following, we're in contact with all the stakeholders, whereas previously many of those stakeholders would have been left out purely because we didn't have the capacity to get in contact with them. So not only is that's good for our opportunity pipeline, it's also providing a better service for our customers and the different stakeholders.
Terrific. So let's wind back a little and dig into the story. So I'll start by introducing you formally. So this is Andrew Thornthwaite, the founder and CEO of
the managing director. I'm not actually the founder. It was founded in 1933, so I don't think I was alive when that happened.
No, you look much too young for that. My apologies. Okay, the CEO of Thornthwaite. Now, do you want to explain what you sell and how you sell it?
Yep. So we specialise in, at the moment, commercial bathroom products such as thermostatic mixing valves, time flow taps, sensor taps, vandal-resistant shower heads, urinal sensors. Essentially, any public bathroom requires our products.
And you're a distributor of products that are manufactured overseas?
Yes, so RADA as well as Presto, they're our 2 main brands.
And you do assemble for one client locally?
Yes, we do. Yep. Yeah, okay. Well, actually, we do. We also do OEM with several clients in Australia where we and modify the products for their needs.
Okay, fantastic. And as we mentioned before, because you're in the building industry, you have this complex value chain with many participants and many decision makers, all of which are in series with one another, meaning if one of them chooses not to play the game, you lose the deal.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So do you want to describe the situation before ballistics leading into how and why you engaged us in the first place?
Okay. So we the areas where our products go into council bathrooms, schools, hospitals, high-rise office blocks, sport and leisure centres, just to name a few examples. So we've had a sales team, and each salesperson was responsible for doing research on the projects. They were responsible for working out when to phone up the customers. They had to go to the meeting, then write up their notes. Now, we have a CRM system, so they would often, there'd be a delay between when the appointment was and when the notes were written up. Also, often the notes could easily be neglected. So you can imagine for each project or each opportunity, there can be multiple stakeholders. So it's very difficult to track and follow. The other thing was people's task lists, salespeople's task lists. Because you're dealing with so many projects and so many stakeholders, logistically, it's a lot more difficult to track those tasks. So there's a lot put onto the salesperson, all these different activities that they had to do. So they were spending a lot of time in the office rather than in the field with clients, helping them with the specifications. So we've been refining our process over many years, and we've done a lot of training with our sales team. We made a lot of improvements, but we needed to go to another level, and that's when I found out about ballistics and started.
So how much of their time were they spending face to face with potential customers in the old model?
Oh, gee. On average, it'd be 1.5 days in the week. Yeah.
Now, I should point out that your two salespeople are excellent. They've been an absolute pleasure to work with. They're very capable. They're very conscientious. So the problems you're describing weren't a function of the capability or the work ethic of the salespeople.
No, we've got an outstanding team here, and they've played a key role in the success of the implementation. So no, in fact, they've been calling out for this about developing a different model so that they could spend more time in the field. Yeah. So they were part of the decision to change.
Yeah, and they've been great. They've been very much a part of the solution. So the issue was, of course, the design of the environment, nothing to do with people. In fact, everyone in your organization was hardworking and conscientious. The problem was the design of the machine that they were working within.
Yeah, and look, they were doing some great work and certainly got some great projects, but they had a lot on their plate that they were trying to juggle. And with the skills that they've got, we thought, well, they're better off writing up notes, and they were doing that, or are they better off meeting with customers and helping the customers to develop their solutions? And it's pretty easy to work out where
exactly. When you put it like that, it's an easy decision. So how did you come across ballistics, and why did you, were there other options you were considering? How did you come to engage us in the first instance?
Well, we've been implementing lean manufacturing for about 3 or 4 years now, so and developing that lean culture in the organisation, so continuous daily improvement based on the Toyota production system. And we've made some huge improvements in the organisation. And although we weren't quite getting the improvements in the sales area with increasing the number of appointments, for example. And actually it was through some contacts in the Lean network that I found out about ballistics and heard about a lunch and learn that you were doing I think it was about a year and a half ago now, and so read up on it, went to the seminar, and that I thought, this would work well for us. Certainly with the culture that we've developed in the company, that's something that we could implement. It would require a lot of change, but we had been going through a lot of change in improving our processes. So we wanted to get the improvements that, say, we had in the operations of the business that we achieved through implementing lean manufacturing. We also needed something that was more applicable to our sales area. And although we certainly apply various lean principles to sales, it was sales process engineering is directly targeted at sales.
Yeah, terrific.
So it just made sense.
Great. So I remember running the workshop with the team. In fact, the two salespeople were involved in the workshop, which is not normally something that we recommend, but yours is a small organization, and I think in your case it made sense to involve them. And I'm thinking the initiatives. I've numbered 3 main initiatives, and I'd be interested to hear whether you see these as the primary or if you have some others. But I think the 3 initiatives from my perspective were the centralization of the management of sales opportunities, which includes adding sales coordinators and planning salespeople's calendars centrally. Exploiting BCI as a primary source of sales opportunities, and we should explain, particularly for our US viewers, that BCI is a publicly available list of a publicly available database of building registrations containing data on all the stakeholders.
Construction projects, it's something that you subscribe to, and many companies in the building industry, manufacturers and suppliers, use this to find out about construction projects.
Exactly. We have the same thing here in the US, but off the top of my head, I don't remember what it's called. It may actually be BCI. And so exploiting BCI as the primary source of sales opportunities was the second initiative. And the third one I have is generally the systemization of all functions relating to sales. So I'm thinking of customer service, promotion, and of course sales coordination. Were they the big 3 from your perspective?
I think that's fair. The principles of sales process engineering, they match it with the centralized scheduling. That was certainly a key. The specialization of resources, which I guess is part of that, or similar to that centralized scheduling. Yep.
Oh, exactly. There's the whole division of labor thing. So we can't forget that. So do you want to briefly describe what the transition was like?
Okay. Well, it was about a year ago that we had that workshop with yourself and our team, and we developed the workflow. Then we made a decision after that to continue with ballistics, and we, I think it was a 4-month project where Katrina, the consultant from ballistics, came in and worked with us. It was an amazing experience. As I've said numerous times, I felt as though I was on a rocket ship hanging on as tight as I could. It was a rapid pace, but the systems that were implemented, or the tools to assist with implementing, meant that we were better able to do it. For example, task management might seem like a simple thing, but the processes that Katrina implemented with that made it a lot easier. Our team was right behind it, and right from the beginning. I talked to our team over many, many months prior to making a decision to ensure that they were part of that decision, that they felt comfortable with it, because it was going to be an enormous change. We were essentially scrapping our old way and starting a new way of doing things, and that can be quite confronting for people. And so it was important for particularly our salespeople to be involved in that. So we developed the workflows, and then several months later we started implementing it, and there was a lot of planning for it. We had to develop the procedures or the manuals. There was a lot of training that occurred, but people did really well. There was Rebecca in our company. She worked on a lot of the marketing side of things and the IT side of things to help integrate with BCI, for example. It was an enormous amount of work. It was very intense, but all that work started paying off because we could see the systems developing, people working according to the systems. And in fact, now it just seems like second nature how we operate. Yeah. 12 months ago, it was totally foreign to us, but there was a lot of training, documentation of the procedures and support required, and that was a key thing.
Yeah, so the most visible change, if somebody came in and looked at you and who hadn't been in the business for quite some time, the most obvious change, of course, is that your two salespeople now have two dedicated executive assistants. And those executive assistants really own the opportunities that are under management, and they're responsible for scheduling all of the activities associated with those opportunities, which means planning the salespeople's calendars.
Yep.
How does that work in practice?
It's great. Yeah, it's interesting. But that required a lot of work, a lot of planning, and developing the processes. So the salespeople like it because they're doing what they want to do and what they're good at doing, that's selling. So they don't have to write up notes at the end of the day. We have to make a lot of phone calls to get appointments. So it means that the salesperson doesn't have to be in the office making all these phone calls to get one appointment.
So the salespeople aren't bemoaning the loss of their autonomy?
Oh, not at all. If we took the sales coordinators away, they would certainly they wouldn't be happy with that. There's no question about that.
No, I think they'd be devastated.
Oh, they would. So would I.
Yeah, I don't think you could do it with. I don't think you could take that. I don't think you could. It'd be very, very difficult to undo the model now that it's in place.
That's correct. Yeah. So the sales coordinators, they're doing a great job. Lauren and Tien working with Ross and Gould. They're able to track the opportunities through or the projects from the start to the end of it. And as I said before, the projects are quite complex because there's so many different stakeholders. Our salespeople have said that it's great having them because they know where projects or opportunities are at now. They're logged on our system, and it makes it a whole lot easier for them.
Yeah, the fascinating thing from my perspective is we've worked with a number of organizations in the building space before. And when I think about the organizations we work with who consistently have in the vicinity of a few hundred opportunities under management, all of those organizations, at least before we get to them, have field teams of 6 to 10 people. Mm-hmm. So you're a very small organization, but you're certainly punching above your weight division.
Oh, definitely. Yep. I think so.
And I get bored with the subject of commissions because I think when people go down this track, they realize just what a non-issue the whole big commission issue is. But it would be remiss of me not to ask you to comment on the subject of sales commissions.
Well, certainly during the process of implementation, a lot of things challenged me and challenged my thoughts, and that was certainly one of them. Before we started working with you guys, and I read about that and we spoke about it. That was a challenge, but I certainly learned more about it, read about it, and I spoke to you about it, and spoke with our salespeople. Now Well, firstly, there's a team of people that are working on each opportunity. So it's not just the salesperson. Our sales coordinators play an enormous role because they're booking the appointments, they're writing up the notes, they're following up with the different clients. They're arranging for proposals to be written. So Narelle in our office, she writes up proposals, does the quotes and so on. Peter provides technical support to the team as well. So it's very much a team effort. So just for a salesperson to get the commission now doesn't seem right.
Were Ross and Gould getting commission in the beginning?
Sorry?
Were Ross and Gould getting commission in the beginning?
Yes, they were, but it wasn't that much.
Okay.
But we sat down, and this was another one of the things that we spoke about, and came to an arrangement so that in fact they were better off under the new model and with pay than the prior one, even with commission, even as low as it was.
One of the reasons, Andrew, why I feel like this subject is a non-issue is that after observing Ross and Gould and listening to them talk, if someone were to suggest that without an additional monetary incentive, they wouldn't go out there and expend the discretionary effort required to pull in business, knowing them as I do and observing them as I have, I would find that suggestion almost obscene.
I agree, and they would too. They take a lot of pride in their work. They certainly are looking out for the customer and seeking to provide the best sort of service. And I know even before we implemented sales process engineering, Ross and Gould were doing a lot of follow-up with customers throughout the project. And they were, in fact, initiating contact with plumbers and trying to help them out. The thing was their capacity and their ability to because they had to do so many things, they simply couldn't get in contact with everyone. But the pride and their values meant that they were seeking to go the extra step to provide, gain the business as well as provide good service.
Exactly. Before we talk about the future, so some of the viewers may or may not know that we transitioned recently from a project model to an engagement model, and as of a few months ago, we no longer deliver projects to clients like the one that we delivered to you. We now only sell ongoing engagements. Now, your case is very interesting because you went through a project with us where we crammed a huge amount of work into 4 months, and now that all of that work is mostly digested, you've come back and re-engaged with us on an ongoing basis. And that's very interesting to me, and it's an endorsement of our new model. Can you talk about why you've done that and the difference in your mind between the two models?
Yeah, well, I see that this is an ongoing development. One of our goals is to continually improve on a daily basis and improve the service that we offer our customers, as well as give more people the opportunity to use our products. We have some of the leading products in our industry, and so we want to provide better service. I guess improvement is a never-ending thing, and so you never get to an end point where you can't improve. It was a massive project. We crammed an enormous amount into 4 months, but I can see other areas where we can implement the model into. We know that building a model around the service area. That's one of the strengths of our business is the customer service and technical support, but we can take that to another level. So, I saw the enormous amount of change in the project. I want to do this on an ongoing basis. and certainly our team got a lot of value from it as individuals in their own professional development as well. So, it was a pretty easy decision to make to continue working with you on an ongoing basis.
Thank you, Andrew. So to talk about the future, we talked about the fact that currently your salespeople are only operating at about 60% of capacity, and the issue there is that the data coming out of BCI, or consuming the data that comes out of BCI, is a little like drinking from a fire hose. There's a huge volume of new projects every week and changes to existing projects every week. So all of that, there's an initial round of qualification that's done programmatically, and the data is getting pumped into your CRM. But what we've discovered is that there's a large amount of research and fairly menial work that's required in order to convert that opportunity flow into appointments, and that's really overwhelming the sales coordinators. So we've identified a requirement to add a researcher or two, which is actually something that we suspected might be the case in the beginning. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, it is. Yep. Because there's so many projects and opportunities coming in week to week. We do need a researcher to assist our team with that. But we knew in the early stages that probably would be the case. But we had so much going on that we needed to implement. Now, you can't implement everything in 4 months.
Yeah. So the constraint has shifted to sales coordination, which is suboptimal. We want it to be salespeople. We want them to be doing those 4 appointments a day, 5 days a week. But the good news is we have the opportunities there. It's simply a matter of doing the spade work required to talk to the stakeholders to find out for sure what stage they're in the development process and to get those appointments booked. And is it fair to say that if you talk to people at the appropriate time on the appropriate projects, they're happy to meet with the salespeople?
Oh, definitely. It's certainly made it a lot easier. We're seeing more people now. Obviously, look, it's a numbers game, so you're not going to get in to see everyone that you want to see, but we are seeing a lot more that we want to see. And yes, I do think that people appreciate that. Obviously, they get to specify our products then, or more get to specify our products. So we believe that's better for them to install a RADA or Presto product.
Terrific. So that's the primary thing we're going to be focused on in the near term, shifting the constraint back to salespeople, getting them to 100% utilization. In terms of other things that the future holds, you should probably do a plug, at least for our Australian viewers, on your new residential product.
Yes, well, that's probably at least a year away.
You take pre-orders?
So yes, we can for Myra showers, Myra digital showers. So next year we will be launching Myra digital showers, which are something new for Australia, where you've got a little touchpad in the shower instead of traditional taps. So you've got a button to turn it on. You've got 2 buttons for the temperature and then 2 buttons for the flow control, and it's fantastic. People have probably had that experience where you're in the shower and someone else turns on another tap, and so your temperature goes up or down, and so you have to adjust the taps in the shower. With the Myra digital showers and thermostatic showers, the system automatically adjusts it for you, so it gives a far better showering experience. So, that should be early 2013.
Okay, great. So we're getting the salespeople to full utilization. We're launching Myra for the residential market, and of course, the initiative that I've been lobbying for ever since we met is to.
Yes, and that's new product ranges, and that is a key aspect
for commercial.
For commercial, that is, yep. And because there's other product ranges that we need in our portfolio, so we are going to be focusing on that as well.
Yeah, so we're actually going to build a new product acquisition process, if you like, and free up your time and put the procedures in place to make sure that you have a portfolio. We build a portfolio of opportunities for you to pursue for new commercial products or new bathroom products.
Yeah, and that was another one of the reasons why we decided to continue working with you on an ongoing basis, so that we can, certainly freeing up my time to spend more time on that, but to develop the processes around that. Yep, so that was key.
Well, the future looks exciting. It's been great to have you on here, Andrew, and I'm sure in 6 or 12 months or so, as the pipeline starts to turn into an increased deal flow, we might come back and we'll come back and talk again. So thank you for taking the time out to share the story.
Well, thank you, Justin. Certainly, we enjoy working with yourselves, yourself and Katrina. She's done an absolutely awesome job here. Fantastic to work with. Jason and Hamer and others at Ballistics. One thing that we've found is the responsiveness of those at Ballistics is exceptional, as well as I guess another reason why I decided to continue working with you guys was that focus on improving every process every day. It is quite amazing. It's probably about 4 or 5 months since we finished the project with you, seeing the changes in Ballistics in that time, the changes in your processes. So you practice what you preach, and so that was an important thing for us to. I guess that, for us to help continue doing that as well.
Terrific. Well, good luck.
It's been thank you.
And thank you again. Talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Justin.
Bye, Andrew.